Welcome back to Decorative, where timeless interiors, collected treasures, and beautiful vintage details inspire every corner of the home. Today, we're stepping into the mysterious and dramatic world of Gothic vintage decor, where deep colors, ornate details, aged finishes, and unforgettable character come together to create a home that feels richly layered and wonderfully moody. Gothic vintage style is not about making your home look gloomy or overwhelming. Instead, it is about embracing contrast, history, craftsmanship, and atmosphere through carefully chosen pieces that bring depth and personality into your space. From antique mirrors and dark wood furniture to dramatic textiles and architectural details, there are countless ways to introduce this timeless aesthetic. If you love vintage decor with a darker, more dramatic twist, this video is filled with inspiring ideas to help you create a home that feels elegant, mysterious, and uniquely yours. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe to Decorative, like this video, and share your thoughts in the comments about your favorite Gothic-inspired decor idea. One of the easiest ways to establish a Gothic vintage mood is through color. Rich shades of charcoal, black, deep burgundy, forest green, plum, midnight blue, and aged brown can instantly give a room more depth and visual drama. These colors create a strong foundation while allowing vintage furniture and decorative objects to stand out. You do not have to paint every wall black to achieve this look. A single dark accent wall, richly colored wallpaper, or even a collection of deep-toned furnishings can introduce the mood without making the room feel too heavy. Pair darker shades with warm neutrals, antique cream, muted gold, or weathered wood to maintain balance. The secret is to choose colors that feel rich rather than flat. Layering several dark tones together can create a sophisticated and collected appearance, especially when different materials and finishes add subtle variation throughout the room. Furniture is one of the most important elements in a Gothic vintage interior. Look for pieces with carved details, curved silhouettes, turned legs, decorative hardware, and the kind of craftsmanship that immediately suggests history. Antique cabinets, Victorian-inspired chairs, dark wooden tables, and elaborate headboards can all become striking focal points. Dark woods such as mahogany, walnut, and oak work especially well in this style because they bring warmth and richness to the darker palette. Slightly worn finishes, visible grain, and aged surfaces are not imperfections here. They are part of the story and help the space feel collected over time rather than decorated all at once. Mix larger statement furniture with smaller vintage discoveries to avoid creating a room that feels like a museum. A dramatic antique dresser can sit beside a simpler chair, while an ornate cabinet can be balanced with understated accessories. This combination keeps the room interesting, personal, and livable. Gothic vintage decor comes alive when the walls are treated as an opportunity for storytelling. Large antique mirrors with carved frames, gilded edges, or darkened finishes can add elegance and visual depth. Their aged appearance brings an immediate sense of history, especially when combined with richly colored walls or patterned wallpaper. Consider creating a layered gallery wall using vintage portraits, botanical prints, antique frames, old sketches, and decorative wall objects. The frames do not need to match perfectly. In fact, a mix of black, bronze, gold, and weathered wood can make the arrangement feel more authentic and collected. Architectural-inspired details can also enhance the Gothic influence. Decorative moldings, pointed motifs, carved panels, and ornate wall brackets can introduce a sense of grandeur without requiring a complete renovation. Even small details can make an ordinary wall feel far more dramatic. A moody Gothic interior should feel visually rich, and textiles are one of the best ways to achieve that effect. Velvet, lace, brocade, tapestry, embroidered fabrics, and heavy woven materials can bring softness and complexity to darker spaces. Think deep velvet cushions, patterned curtains, antique-inspired table runners, and richly textured throws. Layering is especially important because it prevents a dark room from feeling empty or severe. Combine smooth velvet with aged linen, intricate lace with heavier fabrics, and patterned textiles with solid colors. These contrasts create depth while making the room feel more comfortable and inviting. Vintage rugs can also anchor the entire composition. Choose designs with faded florals, intricate traditional patterns, or deep, muted colors that connect with the rest of the room. A well-chosen rug can soften dark furniture and bring together a collection of seemingly unrelated vintage pieces. Gothic vintage decor is the perfect style for displaying objects with history and personality. Old books, ornate boxes, brass candlesticks, vintage clocks, decorative plates, framed artwork, and unusual flea market discoveries can all contribute to a layered and intriguing home. Instead of scattering decorative items randomly, create intentional groupings. Arrange objects of different heights, shapes, and materials on shelves, mantels, side tables, or inside glass front cabinets. A stack of aged books beside a small antique clock and an ornate decorative object can become a miniature story within the room. The goal is not to fill every available surface. Leave enough breathing room for your favorite pieces to stand out. Gothic vintage style feels most sophisticated when it is curated, allowing each treasure to contribute character without creating unnecessary visual clutter. The most memorable Gothic vintage interiors often combine darkness with moments of surprise. A black painted wall might be paired with an ornate gold mirror, while a deep green room could feature pale antique ceramics or a delicate lace tablecloth. These contrasts prevent the decor from becoming too predictable. Look for small details that add personality and mystery. Decorative keys, vintage locks, unusual sculptures, old botanical illustrations, ornate frames, and aged metal accessories can introduce subtle Gothic character without becoming overly themed. The best rooms suggest a story rather than explaining everything at once. You can also blend Gothic influences with other vintage styles that you love. Victorian, French antique, dark academia, romantic vintage, and even rustic elements can work beautifully together. This flexibility allows you to create a home that feels inspired by Gothic design while remaining personal and completely your own. Gothic vintage decor is all about creating a home with depth, history, drama, and timeless personality. Whether you begin with a darker color palette, an ornate antique mirror, richly layered fabrics, or a collection of treasured flea market finds, every detail can help transform your space into something more expressive and memorable. Remember that you do not need to recreate an entire Gothic mansion to enjoy this aesthetic. Start with the pieces that speak to you, mix old treasures with practical furnishings, and allow your home to evolve gradually. The most beautiful vintage interiors often feel collected over time, filled with objects that carry stories and reflect the personality of the people who live with them. Thank you so much for joining us here on Decorative. We hope these Gothic vintage decor ideas have inspired you to bring a little more mystery, drama, and timeless beauty into your home. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe, give it a like, and leave a comment telling us which Gothic vintage idea you would love to try first.